Joining us on this week's Tech Volatility and the 2024 race for the White House, Joe Lonsdale is here, Palantir co-founder and founding partner, of course, of 8VC and so many other things. It's nice to see you, Joe. We've had a heck of a week in the markets. I know you play in the private markets, but all of these things are interrelated. And I'm sort of curious just how you think our economy and which way our economy is moving at this point.
Well, you know, Andrew, it was fun to see the Palantir earnings right after 2 days of the markets all falling apart, kind of saying, by the way, guys, this AI stuff's actually working. We're actually growing really fast. And it felt like it turned things around a little bit. I mean, listen, I think a lot of the volatility this week was tied to things like Japanese banks, which obviously are an important part of the global economy. But, you know, the story here in the U.S. is that our companies are working, our innovation economy is growing really quickly. So we may be facing some macro headwinds, but the AI stuff's real.
Well, so that was the question. Palantir has made this work. The question is that idiosyncratic, which is to say, is there something special going on at Palantir that may not be going on across the industry? Or do you think that there actually is more meaningful legs to this? You saw the Goldman Sachs report probably in the past week where they suggested maybe actually that we're not going to get the kind of sort of growth gains out of AI, at least immediately, than some people had anticipated.
Yeah, I don't think this is happening immediately. I think if you talk to people like Sam Altman and OpenAI and others, it's like we've in a sense, we've failed so far because it's not impacting the entire economy right away. Now, that said, you know, the services industry in the U.S. is about $4.5 trillion in wages. Probably about a third of that can be addressed and be made more productive with AI, and higher productivity. So it makes all of us wealthier. We're seeing things like in healthcare billing, logistics billing, the back end, you know, TPA processes and insurance. We're seeing this in private companies get to be a lot more productive. We're tripling, quadrupling the productivity. That's not going to happen where it scales out to the whole economy overnight. But listen, if we're back here and it's 2027, 2028, and we're not seeing that in productivity statistics, I'll be really surprised.
What about things like Apple? You know, we watched Warren Buffett, you know, get out of half of his position effectively in the company. But more importantly, the question becomes, does a company like that have a sort of massive supercycle upgrade this fall, or is that something that you think ends up ultimately getting pushed out farther in terms of something that is truly game-changing?
You know, there's lots of really cool stuff we could do with consumers and AI. I use these little things all the time to ask them questions. It's really helpful to figure out what's going on in the world, to draw pictures with your kids. Does this change Apple's business in the next year? Probably not. Apple's facing really strong headwinds from a lot of new Chinese competitors. It's not clear to me the new phones are, you know, nearly as good relative to the old phones versus what we saw 10 years ago. So they may have a little bit of a tougher time.
I want to move towards politics, but I want to start with policy first. Curious what your reaction was to the judge's decision against Google this week, effectively calling it a monopoly.
You know, I've been on this for a long time with little tech versus big tech, as Mark Andreessen said really well recently. I'm a fighter for little tech. I'm a fighter for the innovation economy. I think a lot of these big tech companies have become not only kind of slow and ideologically corrupted. I think they're basically monopolies. I think that's right. And so the question is, you know, what are we going to allow monopolies to do in our society? How much can they abuse their power? If something is affecting hundreds of millions of people, if tons of these things are tied into it, we probably need some rules around it. I'm not against even going so far as to break some of them up.
So how do you feel, therefore, about regulation? We were talking to Roger Altman earlier about, you know, people have been very critical of the FTC. They've been critical of the Department of Justice as it relates to deal making, as it relates to a much more aggressive approach under this current administration. And I know that you're not a fan of this administration. So how do you square that circle?
So what I'd say is I'm not against being tough on big tech. I am against breaking principles, and I am against being radical. The Lena Khan lady, she's a total radical, right? She's not respected by her staff. She's a bully. She's randomly stopping deals. She's trying to apply theories that the courts have consistently struck down. She's going to companies like Axon, which makes Taser, and for a tiny little under 10 million acquisition that worked out, trying to make them clone their entire company. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's this totally anti-capitalist, totally against companies in general. That's not what the FTC is supposed to be about. I'm on the side of holding big tech accountable. I'm not on the side of kind of radical regulators who are against companies in general. Like it's insane what these people are doing. So it's two different things.
I'm wondering how thick your skin is at this point. You know, as a backer of Trump, even if you're generous, and we had a venture capitalist on the other day, and the best he could say is if you're not backing a rapist, insurrectionist, and actually treasonous yourself, all you're really worried about, you have stacked your priorities to your wallet and to your tax cuts. And I think that might rub you the wrong way because I'm looking at the notes. There's about 10 things you say, reasons that a venture capitalist or someone in Silicon Valley could back someone that may not be just about tax cuts. I won't read them for you, but they're pretty good ones. Some of them. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I mean, I heard that, and this is the same guy who, has been trying for 15 years to keep the dregs off his beach, his private beach, but virtue signaling. But go ahead,
Joe. I saw a poll yesterday. I think the Jews in New York even now are supporting Trump slightly ahead of Harris, and this is amazing how weak this administration is in foreign policy wise. How much right now they're holding Israel back, knowing they're about to be attacked, not letting them strike the missile sites. In Silicon Valley right now, listen, like she said, she'd end private health insurance with Bernie Sanders. She's the only other one who raised her hand about ending, putting socialism in there. She said she'd break the filibuster for the Green New Deal. Breaking the filibuster is terrifying. That's how you really destroy this country, basically, is you start putting in new states, you start stacking courts, you start doing things that end our system of functional society. I mean, there's no activist judge she doesn't like. The activist judge, the rule of law problem is much more on the left in this country. It's a huge problem. I mean, it goes on and on and on. She said she wanted to ban fracking. She changed her mind now. It's not clear what she actually believes. The DSA was celebrating her vice president pick. This is Joe, a lot of people believe it's crazy.
We got to run. It's a much longer conversation. There's a big question about rule of law, obviously, given that former President Trump has not only been convicted of crimes. I know you disagreed with that, with the conviction, but also is being, is going to go on trial effectively. Well, we'll see if he ever does. But that's why the whole rule of law thing, I think, is a little bit.
Lawfare is a big thing to talk about, Andrew. I agree.